All right, sorry for the delay. What were the takeaways from yesterday's discussion? We're gonna have some pop quizzes here, so what were some of the things you learned?
For those who came yesterday.
Yeah. Because we'll do a refresher, because there's a lot of people, a lot of new people that's came in. Anything? Well, yep. Anything else? All right. So I'm Justin Golston. I'm a professor at Penn State University, also a visiting professor and advisory board member at Georgetown. I've been in the blockchain space for a number of years. Did 5 TED Talks on blockchain. You can go to TED.com and type in Justin Golston and see some of those TED Talks during the last bear market. I have to put that last bear market in now. So we've been in this space for a long time. Did some postdoctoral work at Cornell on blockchain. And if you go to my LinkedIn, you'll see the first academic case study on the metaverse. So that's highlighted on my profile, so you can check that out. Connect with me on LinkedIn, because we have a lot of stuff that we talk about in terms of the space. A lot of educational content, also some VGen type content. So, Justina.
Hi, everybody. My name is Justina. Welcome to our presentation on the Solana blockchain. I'm excited to be here with you guys. I've been in the blockchain space for a while myself. I founded Women in Blockchain Canada in 2018 and have been doing workshops in Canada, and now we've done some around the world. So pretty excited to be here in London, talking to you guys at King's College. And also, Justin and I travel, like he said, and we do speaking engagements at different conferences. So happy to share the knowledge that we've learned with you on the Solana blockchain.
And she also testified in front of Parliament a couple of weeks ago. She always forgets to include that. I think that's a massive milestone that I'll always be telling people. But anyway.
But I think we've already covered the bio, so I'm just gonna go past that and let's get started to make it more interactive. So if you scan the QR code, for those who already have the Phantom wallet, you can help those that don't have it yet. So for those who don't have the Phantom wallet, scan the QR code so you can install it on your phone. Today we will be giving you some Solana so you can end up getting the NFT drop.
So George, Nora, Nargis, I probably said that name wrong, and then Anastasia, they sent their wallet, they sent their address, and already airdropped their soul. So then Anastasia came back and said that she got it. So then you can go on to Block Live, which you'll see in the next slide, where you can now be able to mint that NFT for free on the mainnet. Yes, we went on to the DevNet yesterday, but then I airdropped you some Solana tokens that have value on the mainnet. So now you can go on the mainnet and go to Block Live to actually, we'll walk you through this. I know it's a lot, but once you send over that address, then you'll be able to receive that Solana, and then you'll be able to mint that token on the live net, on the mainnet.
So who's installing the wallet now? Can I get a raise of hands? Who's getting the wallet for the first time? Okay, great. So I'll give you a moment to install it so that we can continue.
And we already set aside about 45 minutes at the end so we can walk through these things, because we're going to go through the Solana wallets. We're also going to go through Wormhole, and we're also going to go through some DeFi transactions. So
yeah, so for those who are installing the wallet, we've created a custom-made NFT.
Oh man, I gotta move this.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, so for those who are just installing the wallet, we created custom NFT that we're airdropping. It's actually a Culture of Women project. That's an NFT project on Solana. And then Justin had it custom made into this NFT, and you can see actually King's College is in the background in the NFT. So for those who are installing the wallet, that's what we will be airdropping for you in the form of an NFT. And for those who are not familiar with NFTs, we will be going through that as it is a use case on the Solana blockchain. Is this? Oh, gotcha. So can I get a raise of hands in the room who's heard about blockchain? Oh, you have a question?
Is the Block Live, is that on magnets only, or is it on a DevNet?
So they put it on DevNet, where you can actually get that token on the DevNet. That NFT has no value.
Right.
but the block live is on mainnet. So once you send me over your address, or if you have Sol in your wallet, because somebody had Sol in their wallet yesterday on mainnet. If you have Sol in your wallet on mainnet, then you can go to blocklive.io. And then as soon as you go to blocklive.io, you'll see our event. And then all its cost is 0.01 Sol. 0.01 Sol is 10 cents, 15 cents.
Mhm.
So what I've done is last night, it didn't actually recognize that I had any sold in my account.
It didn't recognize, it probably didn't recognize it because you're on the mainnet, probably.
I wasn't gonna make it.
You're on the mainnet, so you didn't have real Sol. on
That's the
mainnet.
thing.
Yesterday, we were going through the DevNet.
Yeah.
That's just for testing purposes. So I could have 10 million sold in my DevNet wallet, but it really has no value.
Yeah, because it's on a different
Right,
network.
it's on a different network.
Yeah, there's
Only the main-
Solana.
only the mainnet difference. And the real world.
I was on the mainnet, I didn't buy my
Yeah.
payment for it. But when it tried to register, it said that it was insufficient funds.
Correct.
Yeah, because
Because you don't have Sol
Right.
on that. Okay, well, we'll help you out with that. I think right now we want to just once everybody's installed it, we'll go
Yeah.
through it all, no problem. So, I want to get an understanding of in the room, who's heard about blockchain? So can I get a word that comes to you when you think blockchain? What do you think it is?
Let's say a database.
A database? Okay, anybody else?
Decentralized database.
Decentralized database? Anything else? Anybody else?
Ownership.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
ownership.
can you
So,
expand on that one? I want to get what you mean by that.
So, you know, if you have the three versions of the web, but one or two or three, you know, quite often people conceptualize web one as just, read, web two is read and write, web three is read, write and own.
mhm,
So with blockchain gives everyone the opportunity to expand the web that have ownership and decentralization on that.
Excellent. Appreciate that.
yeah, so as you can see on the slide, basically what blockchain is a distributed ledger and it's immutable and it is basically a database, but it's essentially slower because of the security features. So that's what we have currently right now are centralized databases, but what makes them different and what's special, I think some of you already mentioned, so like ownership in Web3 and also they're decentralized and censorship resistant, right? The blockchain, the thing is because there's no central authority owning it, no one can really stop people from transacting with each other. So that means like it's censorship resistant and it is decentralized because different people are running different nodes and verifying transactions. So the security is better than a regular database essentially because there's no one central point of attack. But the other interesting of the transactions so that, because when a regular blockchain is run, like a proof of stake, even when you're running like Ethereum, the computers all have to agree when the transactions happen. So what's actually happening is because of all the computation that's happening in the back end, it's making it slower. So that's why people ended up building layer 2s on Ethereum. Whereas Solana, when it was built from the get-go, it basically it's a proof of history. So what that means is like, instead of the computers needing to calculate and ask what time is it, and let's all agree on the time is already like basically the transactions when they're hashed when they're created. So let's say the computers no longer have to be calculating that. So like, to explain it and make it realistic for you, let's say you have your family all goes on vacation and you tell everybody when to write down when they sent you the letter, so that when you receive the letters, you can order them. So basically when the transactions are coming in into Solana, that's already, you already know when they happen. So the ordering is much faster. So that's why it has like such a high throughput. It's because it's a proof of history protocol and it's a proof of stake protocol as well, because that's how nodes are verified. That's how the transactions are verified, by people staking. And that's how proof of stake works. People stake their coins so that they can validate transactions. So it works like Ethereum, as like in the terms of people bond their money to validate the transactions. But the other part of it that makes it really fast is the proof of history that I'm telling you, so that the computers are not limited by anything other than actually the machine that's running it. Because right now there's limitations of proof of stake networks, where Solana is actually the speed is actually only limited by how quickly the computer is running. So the faster the computer is going to get, the faster actually Solana will be running. Justin, you want to add anything to that?
No, you got it.
Okay. So do you want to go into this Web3 use cases?
So based on for those who attended the event yesterday, can somebody just really quickly high level go through some of the use cases for what we talked about with Bitcoin and the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum in terms of decentralization and censorship? Does anybody remember that?
Why don't you refresh their memory?
All right. So yesterday we said that in terms of decentralization, Bitcoin is a store of value, right? They're building things on Bitcoin right now, but other protocols such as Ethereum, such as Solana, are further along in terms of use cases, right? So there's additional use cases for Ethereum and Solana as compared to Bitcoin, right? And because of that, we have censorship resistance for these particular tokens. In terms of digital sovereignty, does anyone remember about digital sovereignty, self-sovereign identity? Does anybody have any thoughts on that? Anybody remember what it is?
Go.
You control your work, you have to repeat it.
Yes,
Mhm.
that's correct. That's
So-
exactly it. But why don't you expand on that?
So in terms of digital sovereignty, we always talk about self-sovereign identity, right? So within Web3, like what we talked about earlier, you have ownership. You have ownership of your own content. You have ownership of your virtual identity. On Facebook, on Instagram, we don't own our identity. They sell our content in the Web3 world. So I think you asked about the decentralized social media platform. So Steemit, STEEMIT, Steemit. They actually tried to develop a decentralized platform to take on YouTube, where you monetize off of that. Brave had their token, their basic attention token. That's where you can actually go on the Brave browser. So Justina can speak more about this than I can. But you can go on a Brave browser, and then you can actually pay someone for the content using that BAT token, that basic attention token, right? So the Brave browser is looking to create that digital identity, that self-sovereign identity for creators. So as opposed to YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, monetizing off of you. Now you are actually monetizing off of that completely, right? Going back to what we talked about yesterday with Block Live. That's digital sovereignty. That's your self-sovereign identity. If you create your own tickets, if you're an entertainer, right? And you, as the entertainer, sell your own tickets on Block Live, then you get that initial sale, right? And then you also get the royalties off the secondary market. So you can say, did anybody hear the story about Tory Lanez? Do you remember what happened at Tory Lanez? So Tory Lanez did a 6-album project. He mentioned 1 million NFTs, sold it for $1, sold each NFT for $1, 1 million NFTs for $1 of his content, sold out in 40 seconds. Not only that, he still catches 10% off of every secondary market sale. So imagine, okay, so how much is an album on Apple on iTunes? $10? So I'm gonna buy 10 of these albums. I only need one, right? Now, if they sold out, that's digital scarcity. Now that that album has more value. So now I'm gonna send those other non-NFTs, I'm gonna sell them for $10 a piece. I'm gonna make $90. Tory Lanez made 9, he's already made 10 off of me. Right? And he's doing that forever. Then once he passes away, then his kids get it. That goes back to that digital sovereignty, right? That goes on forever. Immutability and transparency. We always said that the blockchain is immutable, right? It can't be changed. That's the problem. That's the issue that the FTX is having now, right? All those transactions that FTX had with Alameda Research, everything's on the blockchain. So now everyone's doing their surveillance, doing their recon, and they seen that FTX gave Alameda a loan during the last collapse. So now all those things are coming out. That's the power of immutability and transparency, right? And then Justina talked about composability. So when we talk about profile pictures and non-fungible tokens, that goes back to what we talked about with Block Live, where you could actually use tickets as profile pictures. We talked yesterday about the Bored Ape Yacht Club, where you can use that as a profile picture, but then those projects use those pictures as access, right? So NFT NYC, Ape Fest, you had to hold a Bored Ape or a Mutant Ape to get access to Ape Fest, right? The last night, Eminem and Snoop showed up. Wayne opened up for them. Only people who held those tokens were able to see that event. That's the utility to those NFTs.
So who in here uses Instagram? Have you ever got paid from Instagram? Right. So that's the power of Web3. Right now, you are all the product. Your data is being sold, basically, and you're not getting paid for any of it. So Web3, and why I think this is important for all of you to know, and this, like, we're very in early stages, and why this is so important is that what if you were, like, all these companies are targeting you, what are you getting in return for that? Right now, you have no say. The thing is, this way is going to be flipped. There's browsers right now, like Brave browser, that exists. You actually get to select the kind of ads you want to see, and you get paid for your time. Right now, people aren't getting paid for their time. And you don't have ownership of your data. That means your data could be sold to third parties and used to sell you things. So I think that Web3 is very revolutionary, and that's why also your ownership is important and it's revolutionary. Yes?
Yeah, I have a question. You mentioned yesterday about the NFT that you bought to create your
Cultural Women, yeah.
Did you have to, once you bought the NFT, did you have to ask the creators if you could use them in the fashion that you're using.
No, that's in the terms of service, terms of use within that NFT. So whenever you go onto the minting site, you have to read what rights did you get to purchasing this NFT, right? So there was a big thing in terms of this happened, I think, this summer, where there was a number of NFTs that were popular that switched over to Creative Commons, where it said pretty much anybody can use it. So people were holding these NFTs and say, what the heck? This is mine. But then how are you gonna flip it and change it after the fact? Where I don't think that's fair. Code is law in the Web3 world, right? So in actuality, you shouldn't be able to change it where I own the rights to it, and then now the founders are going to say that now anybody can use it. Because that creates more value for them, because now more people are going to be able to use that.
Anybody else have any questions regarding the use cases, maybe in their fields of study for blockchain? Yeah, go ahead.
Right.
Could it be also be used for like real estate to keep like a record?
Yeah, so immutability on the blockchain is important because actually, and there's currently projects that are doing this right now. So essentially, record keeping is done by townships, and they're, and the thing is that, like what I mentioned before, in a database, you can actually erase things. If it's on paper, you can scratch things out. If it's on the blockchain and it's alive and it's distributed, it's not as easy for you to make those changes. So yes, there are projects right now that are doing that essentially for real estate. And the other thing that you can do is you can fractionalize real estate. So one thing is like you can't, if you own it, you own it, and someone can't just go in and destroy the record that you own it. Without if it's a distributed ledger, no third party can just go in and start scratching things out. You have to give permission to that. And that's why the owning your keys and having your keys to your wallet, that's the whole piece of that. That's why it's so important. So the wallets that you guys installed today, that's you own it, you have your private keys, no one can go sign things for you. That's yours. Whereas right now, we've seen instances where there's countries and they can go in and they can they can repossess people's land, and that's happened before. So yes, that's a huge thing. The other
All time in Africa.
and then the other important thing that is that housing costs are very expensive. So if someone wants to invest in a house, they can't go buy an entire house. What tokenization allows to do, that's the composability thing. So you have the ability to transfer money, but composability means, okay, can I buy pieces of something? Can I fractionalize that item, which is an NFT, and give people and issue a token to own that item? So you see you're building on it's like a composability is like building blocks. So now I have the NFT. The NFT could be an entire building. And now I issue a token and say each person owns so and so and so and so.
Can you talk about ubiquity and what Nathan's doing?
Yeah,
That's
so
what he's talking about.
and then the other thing is, can you put contracts on the blockchain? So like, let's say now I give you the deed, so the deed to the ownership of the house that you own. Not only could it be a transaction on the blockchain, you can make it into a picture that's an NFT, and then you can store that on the blockchain so people can go see what was written in there. And you can't also then scratch out what was written in that contract because it's actually a picture, and that picture is stored. The pointer to the file, because the blockchain is just the ledger, but it can point to where the data is also stored. So that's also something else. And also, how can we distribute data so it's not stored in one place so people can tamper with it? Right now, most of the data is sitting on centralized servers, you see, and like AWS, and it's expensive to use these servers. But all of you own a computer, and imagine you can share that computing power and you can share your storing power. So another thing is that people could actually provide their computing power, provide their storage power, and data can be distributed in pieces and then, spread across the computers and put back together. That's another thing.
Filecoin is doing that, so you can check out Filecoin, where I have proof of storage to do like that. But how many people own homes in here? Okay, So going back to what Justine is talking about, Ubiquity is doing something called non-fungible titles, where not only can you put the title of your home on the blockchain, the title of your car on the blockchain, but if you own a home, one of the big issues is to tracking and tracing the maintenance of hot water heaters and things like that. So that's a use case for a non-fungible title where you can put in the maintenance for hot water heaters, refrigerators, anything, any capital and probably wrong word, even a valuable part of the home that can be put on the house, and that can be tracked throughout the whole entire life of the house. Because current state, the maintenance schedules for those hot water heaters, they're just plastered on the side of these things, right? I just sold a house 2 years ago. It was built in '98, right? The maintenance was put on the side of the hot water heater, right? So that's the only proof that hot water heater was serviced, for example. Now you can use a blockchain, and now it's transparent to all homeowners moving forward. That's another use case for that. What was it?
The company.
Ubiquity.
Ubiquity. What was the question that you had? You've been thank you for your patience.
A question about NFT, because, a little bit to your point, they're on the blockchain, so there's proof that you purchased it and you have it in your wallet, but it's not like intellectual property, right? In a way.
It depends. It depends on the project.
Mhm.
Right, so can you like dive into that a little bit?
So, for example, Board 8 Yacht Club, you own the IP to those apes, right? But then the punks, with the punks, based on the agreement, you can only monetize up to a certain amount on the punks, right? Moonbirds, I think, don't quote me on this. I think Moonbirds is collective commons, so that's open to everybody. So that's why I say it depends on what the project is, where some projects, once we release it, it's open to everybody. Some projects, we're still control, you can buy this NFT, but we still control the IP to it. Right? So that's the thing where you really have to understand what the agreement is. You have to understand what the agreement is before you actually purchase that NFT. But I don't think and these are my thoughts, you're never going to see a run on NFTs like we did last year. People are more knowledgeable about it. They're more educated about it. You have people going straight into smart contracts to see what the agreement is, straight into smart contract, right? Also for royalties. OpenSea takes a certain royalty. Then you also have a certain royalty within OpenSea for the creators. Now you can go to Blur, BLUR.io. You as a lister set the royalty, right? But the more royalty that you provide to the user, the more governance tokens you get. So you can go to Blur. If anyone transacted on OpenSea the last couple of months, go to blur.io. Up until I think the end of December, based on how much you list on Blur, you're going to get airdrop tokens. So because I was transacting on OpenSea, Blur.io, because everything was on the blockchain, Blur.io seeing how much I'm transacting on OpenSea, and they airdrop me drop me some tokens. They airdrop some tokens. All right. So then based on how much you list and transact on Blur.io, you're still going to get airdrop tokens. Like the biggest airdrop was ApeCoin with the Bored Apes. Other one was Uniswap. People made millions off of Uniswap airdrop for free. Right? So and a lot of these tokens, it's free money just to interact with the protocol. It's free money, right? Not financial advice. And the thing is, that's the thing, you don't have to spend money. All you have to do is interact with the protocol. That's it.
So
You don't have to spend money.
what does that mean for you guys? So basically, because this is so new, like for example, in this classroom, because the amount of people who know about it's still so small, you're basically pioneering into the space. And like, as you see, people still have questions. It's not like as easy as installing just an app and doing nothing, and it sits on your phone and it's already connected to your Apple Pay or to your Google Pay or whatever. There's a little bit more work that has to be done. So that's why Solana, you know, they're looking to be user-owned and user-friendly. But the thing is right now, because we're still in such early phases, there's still more work. Like, you guys are essentially pioneering, because in order to get in and interact, it's essentially testing. So basically what he means when you get airdropped is like, whenever you interact with different protocols, they might give you kickback because you're basically helping them build,
Yes,
helping them
testing
test,
yeah.
because there's so little people that are actually using it, know about it. So like, the fact that you're all here, that's huge, because actually, you know, it's just even though some people interact with it, they've never downloaded a wallet. All they've done is read something online. But today you're doing real life things, like now you own the wallet. Now you'll be able to get an NFT, interact, and get used to it, and figure out, well, maybe there's something I want to build on there. What exists for me in this ecosystem?
So, and just to add to that, so NFTs, I always say, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, that's just one use case for blockchain. I think people forget that, right? So that's where NFTs, DeFi, that's where money is. So that's where everybody goes. Like, my ultimate goal is to put, anybody heard of ERP systems? SAP? So enterprise resource planning applications, those applications pretty much run an entire organization, right? King's College has an ERP system because they have to purchase products, they have to store contracts, they have to have a place to store for HR, right? King's College has an ERP system. Every organization has an ERP system. So my ultimate goal was to put an ERP system on a blockchain. But my business partner, he said, Justin, there's no money in that. He said, go look at the total market cap of the entire ERP industry, right? The total value locked in Uniswap was larger than the whole entire ERP industry. So why would developers put their time and effort into something with a market cap smaller than just one DeFi platform? That's the problem we have. So the real true use cases, it's going to take a while to start building, because there's so much money to be made in not NFTs right now. There's so much money to be made in the DeFi space right now. People were getting paid $250,000 for NFT projects, and they still couldn't find developers. They're offering $250,000. They still couldn't find developers during the height of this NFT run.
So like that's kind of going back to what we're mentioning here, because you're here and you're participating. It's kind of like you're actually entering within the ecosystem. But because this isn't offered like a subject in schools, as you may know, and people aren't really teaching this, it's like, because it takes so while to get books approved and things approved, but then industry's already doing things and people need to hire people. There's no graduates that may have the knowledge to go in and work for these places. That's why people are able to get paid so much. But going back to like, so what is unique about Solana? It's like really ultra fast and very inexpensive. So another thing about, he's talking about these NFT projects, in order for people to mint things, to mint NFTs on Ethereum, people spend thousands of dollars interacting with the ecosystem. There's people who have spent literally, maybe $5,000 for a transaction to buy something on the Ethereum ecosystem. They just went from a proof of work to a proof of stake ecosystem. So
Other side may have spent like $150 million. They burned $150 million in 6 hours.
There you go.
Burned.
So
during the other side, Metaverse Mint for Yuga Labs, Board of Yacht Club, I think it was 150, 180 million, something like that, just burned. Let me know. Somebody found me the exact number.
But the point being is like, it's inaccessible to people. So most people who are, starting out or studying or whatever, they can't really be going on and interacting with something that is that expensive. So in order to also allow people to enter the ecosystem, Solana makes it inexpensive and very quick to interact with.
Mhm.
So as you can see here, this is like a comparison of blockchains. So it tells you how many current transactions per second can you do on different ecosystems. You can see Solana 65,000. I think Visa's around 63,000 transactions per second. Bitcoin is 7, Ethereum's 30, Ethereum 2.0 is 100,000, Binance 100, Cardano 1,000, Polkadot 1,500, Cosmos, and you can see so transacting is very fast. Layer ones are still depending on how they're built, their throughput is different. And so what Solana is also building right now is a way from people to let the other thing is in the future, and even now, people are going to be wanting to take information from one place to the next, like you can do with a regular database, but it's not always possible. And so people are building bridges in order for you to, for example, take your things off of Ethereum and put them on another blockchain if you wanted to. So how do you do that? So I'll let Justin speak to that in a moment.
So, and also I just want to say that 100,000 transactions on ETH 2.0 is just hypothetical, because ETH 2.0 is still slow at this point. But the one thing we didn't mention yesterday is whenever we talked about the Ethereum merge, we're only seeing phase 1 of like 4 phases, right? This is still going to be a multi-year project on the merge. That's one thing that people don't understand and don't realize. You're really going to get that scalability once sharding on Ethereum begins to get introduced. And I think that sharding is phase 3 of the Ethereum merge process. They don't talk about that a lot, but it's still a multi-year project within the Ethereum 2.0. We're just on phase 1. Gas fees are still ridiculous. I think a lot of people are still upset about that.
Will they eventually tackle the gas fees?
Excuse me?
Will they eventually tackle the gas fees?
Once sharding, I think my thoughts, I think once sharding gets introduced, I think gas fees will go down.
But I also think the thing that you have to know is because like Ethereum offers like really, really high security, but once you want to have speed and security at the same time, it's called like basically the blockchain trilemma, right? You want to have speed, but you want to have security. With Ethereum, they had to have layer 2s built on top for it to be faster. So there's layer 2s that are built on it. So you can do like the day-to-day transactions, but you're getting the security of Ethereum underneath it. So now what we're seeing is there's layer 1s and layer 2s, where Solana's built like, this is a layer 1 that's efficient enough. So you don't need to build another blockchain on top of this one that is a dual layer. So that's that you can see the comparison. They both work, but it's just like, what's happening? And can you go from one to the other? So like I was saying to you earlier, so more people know how to code, for example, on Ethereum, but how if we wanted to bring them over to Solana, is it possible? So we're going to talk about smart contracts as well.
I was going to ask, recently with the FTX events, do you agree that we're going to need a new regulatory framework to be implemented, or are you against having regulation?
Oh, I think I think for me, if you ask me personally, I think regulations are necessary, because right now the amount of money invested in the system is very small. Most of the money in the world is like a lot of the money in the world is in pension funds, and pension funds aren't going to go near an unregulated asset. So if we really want the masses to enter the system, you need regulations so that people can come in with more money so that we can have even more user friendliness.
There's a pension fund in Canada that was actually locked up and they invested in FTX. I think it was Ottawa or something.
I'll have to look into that. But yeah, in Canada pioneered, actually the first country in the world that allowed for, like that regulated cryptocurrency exchanges. And so they're always looking to create new regulations. And I think like the UK right now, like it seems like you guys are looking, I think everybody's looking at it, but because the regulators aren't educated about it, then we need more education in order to have more regulation, because it's such a new subject.
I think the UK is further along than the US, to be honest, in terms of crypto regulation and looking into it.
Yeah, sorry, just going back to the real estate
Mm-hmm.
team. If I already own a house and I have a public deed, like
Yes.
how do I then convert it into the blockchain?
Like, so you can do it in 2 ways. Like, let's say you wanted to take it, scan it literally and mint an NFT out of it, you could do that. But the other thing is, I think townships and other places will be looking at that, because the current databases that they use maybe even expensive for them to use, difficult to research. Like if they're looking through the database, I know in Canada, I have to pay, like when I was buying a place, it cost me $800 to look up the title. A title search costs $800 to validate. So, I mean, it's going to probably be in the future cheaper, and it's going to be faster, and it's going to be more secure. But I think it's all like, you know, anytime there's a change in society, it takes a while. But once it hits, like, I think it's going to be like, it's going to be different. So it's kind of like there's unknowns in this technology. There's a lot of things called black swan events. So COVID-19 was a black swan event.
FTX.
That's another black swan event. But to give you an example, in the Philippines during COVID-19, people needed to make money, but they didn't know, like they figured out that they can actually do it through blockchain gaming because they couldn't receive funding from the government to continue their livelihood, let's say. So what ended up happening is you had a whole bunch of gamers entering the ecosystem because they couldn't find other work. So their work was actually to play games. So people played games and earn money to buy houses, to buy cars. And that would have never happened if it wasn't for the fact that people were told stay at home and be on, like, and what else are they going to do? They're going to go on a computer. So then they had to learn how to do this in order to maintain their livelihood. So it's kind of like we can plan for things and say, this is a great use case. And then out of nowhere, something will happen and you'll get like a lot of adoption just because people do it out of necessity, right? So there's different things. So that those are like, if you're having a deed that's like from the government that recognizes it, that would be them having a new system that allows it on the blockchain. But you can also do it as a user if you wanted to.
Right.
And then someone can go and re-authenticate it with the government, or you can for yourself, so you never lose it, you put on the blockchain.
See, I think that's where this is going, where if you put your public deed, if you put your deed on the blockchain as a user, then we're taking out the middleman in a number of cases. And now if you want to sell your house, it's peer-to-peer, just like crypto. It's peer-to-peer. Here's a transaction of the deed on the blockchain. Here's all the inspections on the blockchain, right? And now you're saving thousands of dollars just because you're doing it peer-to-peer without all the middleman within that process. You can still include a lawyer, right? But you're still taking out a lot of those intermediaries throughout the whole entire process.
I think right now it's still like in the US, there's like, for example, we're going to have systems where, yes, you're going to be able to literally, what he's saying, transact in a way where like even the money flow is going to be seamless, but we're not there yet. But I think like that's what's coming. Once there's more regulation, the conversion of like regular money, like for example, the digital pound or the digital US dollar or whatever, if that happens, that means money can more easily flow between people and much, much cheaper. Because right now to send money, even the use case, the simple one of like, I send money to somebody else across the world. If you're using PayPal, you're still paying very high fees. But what if you were to like literally pay like what different blockchains allow, like Solana, like, you know, like a quarter, like a 0.001 of a cent, then like your transaction is much cheaper. Even that is a huge use case for the world, because now how much money is being made by like different companies that or banks that charge high transaction fees. So I think it's a huge game changer for many areas, and definitely real estate is one of them. And even when the real estate transaction happens, so that there's so many different parties that are involved, you can make that transaction cheaper as well. So I think it will save users money.
And going back to what she's saying with CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, China's already doing it. US has already worked with the Federal Reserve of Boston actually worked with MIT to do a use case for CBDC. So if you look up, I think it's Open CBDC. If you look up Open CBDC, it's open source on GitHub, where you can see where they created a solution to do, I think one solution did 140,000 transactions per second. Another solution did 1.4 million transactions per second. They set the threshold of 140,000 because that's what Visa does per second.
Mm-hmm.
Wondering, there were like say banks involved or big tech companies involved
Mm-hmm.
that make regulators that make it more centralized? rather than decentralized?
It's gonna be centralized, but I think that centralized CBDCs and the decentralization DeFi, I think they're gonna work, they're gonna coexist.
It's like a highway,
Mhm.
right? And you have two cars on it. One car is a slower, older car, that's like the current system, and then you're gonna have like a high-speed vehicle that's more customizable, that's like the blockchain. But they're still going on the same highway. And then I think we're just gonna have to see how it evolves. But why don't, do you wanna go into what is a Solana cluster, Justin?
So, any other
So-
questions?
One,
Mhm.
are there companies, obviously, there's a foreign outstanding institutions there, but I know in general, there are other so-called universities that, spontaneously issue these, degrees, certificates and kind of thing. Are there any firms out there that are actually putting like, results, on someone's, pass marks on the blockchain to say that their, degree is actually legit? as opposed to-
Yeah, I think that's gonna be happening. I think people are trying to work on standards. So like,
Mhm.
you're looking
Good
at
point.
a way of doing a system. It's not just like one thing, right? It's a system. So I know the University of Nicosia is already issuing certificates for doing NFTs for doing their class. If you want to do it for free on DeFi, if you want to do it for free on what is blockchain. They already give you a certificate for completing it. For you coming to this event, you're going to get a certificate of attendance. And that's what's going to be happening in the future. But right now, it's again, how do you onboard? And then is it centralized or decentralized? A lot of these institutions, they want to centralize it. They want to have private blockchains. And there's like what we were explaining earlier, everything comes with a pro and con. So like that chart we had earlier went through like, okay, if you have a centralized system, are you getting, is it just another database? Because then you can just still maybe the only difference is you don't erase something, but you can stop something. So you can censor things. So again, but there's nothing right or wrong. It's how are we going to transact?
But in terms of degrees, check out MIT's been doing that for a number of years, not across the board, but I think it's like an option where you can actually get a degree. written through
Mhm.
blockchain
And
at
peop-
MIT.
People are looking into that. Governments are even looking into that. So,
Any
but-
other questions?
I'm looking at education myself, so, just to add to that, so, maybe, conversation for
Go ahead.
just to provide education.
Oh, go ahead. Are you have more to add?
Just follow on with regards to what you're saying about education, providing education.
Oh,
So, I'm looking to help facilitate the providing education in Web3, NFTs, blockchain. So, just starting with a partnership with a great company. So nice to have a further conversation with you.
oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
we'll talk
after
this.
the
We'll talk during
event.
the break.
So do you, so but maybe some of you may be interested in becoming a validator in the future. So do you want to discuss like, what is a Solana cluster and?
Yeah, so with a lot of these blockchains, in order for those transactions to get approved, in order for consensus to be reached, we have to have a number of validators, right? That's what leads to decentralization within blockchains. Solana has something we refer to as a cluster, where you have a number of different validators that are working together, because really in the other spheres, these validators in some cases are competing with each other, right? Where I think the differentiator here is these validators are working together, right? To validate these transactions, right? And that's another reason why Solana is so quick. You have everyone working together instead of competing with each other. So as you can see, a number of clusters can coexist, and you can have a number of clusters going at the same time. And then if you have two clusters sharing a common block, then that can actually converge and lead to even quicker transaction. So that's how Solana is. That's one of the reasons why Solana is very, very quick, because now you have validators working together instead of competing with each other. Because like for Ethereum, for example, you have people competing for the block because they get rewarded. Bitcoin, you have people competing to solve that mathematical computation, right? Here, You have these validators working together. That's the difference. All right, that makes sense?
And how do you qualify to be a validator?
So I'll have to do more research on how you can be a validator, because there's a certain amount of SOL you have to put up. I just don't know what that number is right now. All right. Wormhole. Who's heard of wormhole? All right, what is wormhole?
Wormhole is a bridge that allows you to have tokens on one block, one chain network and transfer it to a, say, from Phantom to Solana, and go through their platform wormhole.
Yep.
And hopefully you can get the right tokens with the right value on the other side.
Yep. I like how you said hopefully, because that is indeed correct. So wormhole. I actually started a transaction on wormhole on the way up here. I gotta see if it went through, because that's a problem with these bridges. They can take an extremely long amount of time to perform transactions. That's why I'm still not a fan of Polygon. I've had transactions take an hour and a half to go from Ethereum to Polygon, right? I've had transactions from Ethereum to Polygon take 15 hours. Well, I'm not a fan of Polygon. But whenever I use the wormhole, sometimes it takes, well, also I was doing it when I was in the Uber, so maybe that was part of the problem. Takes a matter of minutes, right? Matter of minutes to transfer tokens from Ethereum, use the wormhole, and have it come out of the wormhole on Solana, right? So as you can see, you can bridge tokens from a number of different blockchains. So in this example here, where I'm going to talk about Terra, you can do it from Solana, Polygon. I don't want to talk about Polygon either. Phantom's a blockchain that you can look into. Ethereum, Bonnet Smart Chain, and also Avalanche, right? And then Akala Karura, that's within the Polkadot and Kusama ecosystem. So we do a lot of work in Polkadot and Kusama. So Akala and Karura, you can also use a wormhole to do that. Okay. In one demonstration, we'll actually go into the wormhole, and you'll see where not only can you transfer tokens, we can also transfer NFTs. So we're actually going to go through that later on after this presentation. All right. So bridges. So Solar Bridge. So we talked about the wormhole. So wormhole is going to be transferring assets such as cryptocurrencies and NFTs from one blockchain to another. So from Ethereum to Solana. But you also have what we refer to as solar bridges. So when we talked about yesterday, when we talked about presentations, can you actually put a presentation on a blockchain? You can do that using the solar bridge. So with the solar bridge, you can use Arweave. So Arweave, Arweave. I think there was another solution that we talked about when we were speaking with Solana, where you can also use IPFS and Filecoin. So what happens is that, okay, I can record this. So this video we're recording right now, right? I can put it on the blockchain. I can mint that NFT on Solana. But again, that NFT that I mint on Solana is only a pointer. So now that NFT is saying, okay, this is the King's College Solana presentation, right? But in order to actually view it, you can click that NFT, but then that NFT is going to go to Arweave in this example. It's going to go to Arweave, go to the storage, retrieve that hour-and-a-half presentation, and then you're able to view it. Right? That's the same exact thing on most NFTs. The NFT, the validation of the NFT is on the blockchain, right? But the NFT is actually stored on IPFS. Or on Filecoin, mostly IPFS, right? So whenever you're viewing that NFT, it's going to IPFS and saying, boom, here it is, right? There's like I said yesterday, there are very few on-chain NFTs. Okay, we actually created a generative on-chain NFT on Optimism. It's very difficult to actually do. To create an on-chain NFT that will actually take certain layers and automatically generate twice a day, every day, forever. Very difficult. It took us like 6 months to figure it out. I didn't do it. I couldn't figure it out. Right. So whenever we're talking about on-chain NFTs, that development is it's fairly complex, right? We're talking about regular NFTs. You're actually storing those in IPFS, Arweave, Filecoin, and then you're shooting that image over to the blockchain. Does that make sense? Or are you confused? Yes.
Why is it so complicated to do it directly on the blockchain?
It depends on what type of NFT you're actually creating, because whenever you're storing the NFT on IPFS, all you're doing in a smart contract is saying, go to IPFS and retrieve this, right? Whenever you're doing it on chain, you're writing all the code within that smart contract, within the blockchain. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So that's the difference.
Does anybody in here know what smart contracts are? Everybody know what they are? Or you guys need a refresher?
We good? We good on smart contracts? You need a refresher. Refresher, please.
So smart contracts are basically pieces of code that execute when certain conditions are met. So to give you an example, let's say there's a farmer in Africa and he can buy an insurance that says, if it rains this amount of time, keep paying my insurance. But if it doesn't rain and it's dry and my crops don't end up growing, I get paid out. So he doesn't even have to submit it. He wouldn't even have to go in and submit a claim, because the data can actually be retrieved from the real world and be verified. And then he can get his payout, because that's the thing that you can code on the blockchain. So you can say, I would like, I'm buying this insurance, it's costing me $5 a month. If it doesn't rain for these amount of months, like 3-4 months, right after that, I'm getting a payout because my crops couldn't grow. If my crops could grow, I keep paying the insurance. So right now, people are making claims. They have to file forms, provide evidence, etc. Now, when you can have real world data and people's data interacting with the blockchain, things can be done like all at once without, people even needing to talk. So it's just like automating transactions. But in other cases, it's saying things like, okay, when you go and pay for something, people have to, it's kind of like Visa has to verify that amount exists on your card in order for the payment to be made. Same kind of idea. On the blockchain, I can when I'm trying to collateralize an NFT, that we would have to check that I actually own it so that I can take the collateral out of it. So that's like the kind of idea. So go ahead. Well, I think it's more about, it's actually, it's interesting. There's more mistakes, I think, that happen right now in the real world because people can provide false data, right? Whereas like when data is decentralized, let's say if I go and I want to check the weather, I can go and there's different places you can check that information. So imagine you can actually, instead of just looking in one place for information, now a smart contract can go look in 3-4 different places for information. That's something that Chainlink does. They validate data, they take data from different, that's what an oracle is. You take data from different places and you aggregate and say that is the truth. And then it can interact with the blockchain. So what is the price? The thing is, if I'm transacting and I want to, because price fluctuates, right? And I want to buy something, how do I validate what the price of Ethereum is at the time of the transaction that I'm sending? So Chainlink, I'm pretty sure Chainlink is very busy right now because the Oracle can actually go off chain and look at the World Cup scores and then write it back to the blockchain and confirm. So people could actually take bets on the blockchain, right? On a World Cup game. Y'all could have taken bets on the US and England game. It can go on Chainlink, can go out to the Oracle, check the score. Okay, it was a draw. Okay, pay them out, right? So right now, the whole validation is cumbersome and slow in the world we live in, right? Because the data can't interact in the real world the way that it's already being built from the first place to interact. And then you get into something that's very important, storing data and decentralizing data, right? So it's like the ability to falsify information, it's much harder with blockchains than it is currently in our systems. Yes, go ahead. Well, because first of all, most people are interested in money. So most people are interested in speculation. Then you have the use cases. And in order for you to have the use cases, you have to have adoption. In order to have adoptions, you need regulation.
Mhm.
But the regulators do not have education and it's very scary for them to make a decision. Like I went and I testified at Parliament and we had lawyers testifying. But the thing is, how many lawyers in the world know about blockchain, can provide advice? People didn't study it in school,
Right.
right? So how can they even create regulation? So it's so new and it's scary. So it's like, yes, it's a great idea, but what's happening is actually people are building the technology first and the regulation always comes after. Because
So-
the idea comes in, they build it out, and then the regulators say, well, now that there's all these mistakes that have already been made, how do we deal with it?
So I just had a conversation with a lawyer on Tuesday, because she posted something on LinkedIn and I followed up on it, then we had a conversation. So she's an inheritance lawyer. So she like writes wills. She's a lawyer, a will lawyer, whatever you call that, whatever you call those types of lawyers. So she said they were in, so they're always doing, development, career development, just like we do in all industries, right? She said she was in a conference call with 400 lawyers. They asked the question, how many of you have dealt with cryptocurrencies? How many do you think?
None.
0. Out of 400 and some lawyers. This is Canada. Maybe Canada, maybe the demographic has something to do with it. I don't know. But out of 400 lawyers, not a single one has dealt with cryptocurrencies.
So
That's scary.
So basically what's gonna happen is the technology is going to be built. And then, like I said, the regulators are gonna have to come in and do it. And then there has to be a push for that as well.
I think it might actually change because that's what the position was on things like companies change. So maybe if we have more successful players in the market, maybe the trust can be built, but then it's all about education. I think it all goes.
Yeah, it all goes back
Yeah.
to education.
It's smart. Failed cases of pieces, that's why they couldn't trust. But then I think it's all about education.
Mhm. In the back.
I had a question, can smart contracts operate outside of a DAO? Would that have to be part of, like, can you just have a single use for a smart contract, or do that have to be like part of a?
I could write a smart contract right now if I wanted to. Yeah, you don't have, that's the power, and that's the power, and that's the drawback. So that's what happened with all these rug pulls. I can create a smart contract, I can pay an influencer on YouTube 100,000, they can pump it, and then I rug everybody. Because it's anonymous, anybody can create a smart contract, right? The DAO kind of creates more trust, in my opinion. So I can use a smart contract based on a DAO. I can also have what we call a multi-sig, right? Where I have multiple people signing off on transactions before that money unlocks, right? See, that was a problem with FTX. So one of the I can't pronounce his name. One of the former CEOs of Facebook, SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried wanted him to be an advisor and investor on FTX. One of his recommendations was you create a board of directors, and then you also have a multi-sig. SBF and his team said thanks but no thanks. I'm not going to tell you the exact words he said. They said thanks but no thanks, because they wanted to control everything. They wanted to hide things. But if you have a multi-sig, now you have more people that's going to be signing off on transactions. Now you have more people responsible for the transactions.
So I think to give people a background of like even what is a DAO? A DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. So do people in the room know what a DAO is in the first place? Okay. So the thing is that what we're talking about here is having governance structures on chain. So like, that's what we're talking about. So that means if you're going to execute something, people have to agree to it and you can take their votes on chain. But the thing is, since people are anonymous, what if people created false accounts? So how do you manage that? But I think going back to smart contracts and Solidity and Rust and Anchor and what's different amongst like building the different smart contracts. And I think I'll let Justin go into quadratic voting, but what I'll cover here is like right now, writing smart contracts on Ethereum is easier, but it's not as customizable. But if you're like, it's like having a, you can create a different kind of car and then you can put more features on the car. What Rust, and that's the program that Solana works on, is more customizable. So the kind of features you can have, it's harder to produce, but the kind of features you can have are more. Yes?
So with the DAO structure, as you know, for example, how most DAOs work, they have, each person has a specific amount of tokens.
Correct.
For
Mhm.
voting. And do you think that's morally correct, just because you have a specific amount of tokens or such a high level of capital, you have the most governance over what a DAO does? Do you think that's morally correct?
It depends on how the DAO's set up. Because you have MakerDAO. You have MakerDAO where A16Z controls a large amount. If any proposal comes in for MakerDAO, and A16Z doesn't like it, Andreessen Horowitz, one of the biggest investors in the Web3 space, they don't like it, they can shut it down because of the amount of DAO tokens they have. But then you have something that Christine was talking about with quadratic voting, where quadratic voting can actually prevent that, right? So you can have one thing, you can have quadratic voting, and you could have, the number of tokens, the more tokens you have, the more influence you have. You could have one person, one vote, right? But then with the one person, one vote, then you still have the problem of creating fake accounts, creating burner wallets, right? But then if we do KYC, then you get rid of that. If you don't like KYC, bye Felicia, right? Now we have a transparency, right? So you can create these DAOs, you can create these governance structures however you want. But also it comes down to what the community wants.
Yeah, so this is so what we already discussed, but for those who want a picture of the slide, basically this goes over, what is the smart contract itself executing when specific conditions are met, right?
Another important thing is they're not called smart contracts on Solana, they're called programs. Same exact concept, they're just called programs in Solana. Smart contracts are called programs in Solana. That's what
Okay,
you need to know.
yes, there's a,
Is it correct to say that maybe one since what's interesting? Kind of eliminates some of the employees in the process and that. So
but I think it's, well, you're asking me an ethics question. I want to focus on the technology and the ethics, but that's fine. I think it's like that technology is being put in place. So there's already, that I know of, there's companies that are already building that. They're building a interaction with the bank, and then the blockchain, and the ability for you to go and do the transaction without a lawyer and look up the deed. So yes, it's going to eliminate certain things, but at the same time, adoption in technology always takes time and takes regulation. So it's always going back to regulation, If it's unregulated, but you did it and you guys agree, but who's recognizing it? If the government doesn't recognize it and you do the transaction and the people recognize it, well, what's happening then, right? So I think the big thing that we have to think about is education, then regulation, and then what's happening. But I think once so many things happen in the space and people complain, people lose money, governments end up going in and protecting consumers, right?
Mhm.
That's why, for example, in Canada, they ended up doing the whole exchange thing. There was an exchange that had people's money and lots of people lost their money. So the government went in and said, okay, we're not going to allow, if we need to regulate this, people are losing their money. They're buying on an exchange. That exchange is not really holding the money. And this happens over and over. We saw it happening with Mt. Gox. We saw it happening in Canada. And now we're seeing it happen again with FTX. And the thing is that it's still a new space. So now when the more, as you may know, the more and more regulations you have, the easier it is for companies to be compliant, or for people to actually say, I don't want to go into a centralized exchange. I want to own my own money and I want to store my own stuff.
That's
So
the problem though. People within the Web3 space, they aren't fans of the centralized exchanges. The centralized exchanges, in some people's eyes, the centralized exchanges are the on-ramps to get your fiat into crypto, get out, right? So these centralized exchanges, they're just like centralized banks. And that's why they have the power to lock up your tokens, just like FTX did, just like Quadriga did, like Mt. Gox did, right? So that's the problem. But to expand on that, look at it from a different perspective. If something is happening that you don't understand, right? If something is happening that can potentially take money out of your pocket, wouldn't you try to prevent it from happening as well? Lawyers don't understand the Web3 space. Lawyers don't understand the smart contracts, but lawyers can see, oh, they're saying it's going to take out the middleman. Oh, shoot, I'm the middleman.
But you're still gonna have a lot of things come up for lawyers to do.
Well, yeah, for sure.
But I think what I want to go into now is I want to see how many people in the room actually ended up getting a wallet. Can I want to know, did everybody get a wallet? Who did not get a wallet?
That's the question.
Do you need, yeah, do you have it?
Okay, that's fine.
That's fine.
That's all
That's,
you need.
we just want to know, does everybody in the room have a
Who
wallet?
does not have a wallet yet?
You don't? Oh,
Okay,
you do?
everybody
Does
has one.
everybody has a wallet? Can we do the Typeform thing? Because we ordered pizza and it's about to come. So I just want to make sure that we get through this so you guys can enjoy your meal in peace. Yes.
Validate.
Yes, you can. And when we can provide more information after this.
Yeah, once we start eating the pizza, I can get you that validator information.
Yes.
Yeah.
So do you guys mind scanning and making sure that you can access the Solana Typeform?
Make sure you once you set up, once you do the Solana wallet, set that up. Once you do that, please select the Typeform, and then send me your address, and then I'll airdrop you the tokens for the NFT. All right, I'll write it down.
Yeah, so maybe you can go through the steps. We'll get to you after 1 second, please.
I know, I already ate one of them. Thank you. Appreciate it. Are we ready? All right. All right, so we'll wrap this up.
Mhm.
Got 45 minutes, so I'm gonna go through the last couple of slides here. And then we're gonna go through a few transactions. So picking up on the developers, we always say that Rust is the language within Solana. And the value with Rust is that once you learn Rust, you would be able to go into the Polkadot ecosystem, the Solana ecosystem, or the Near Protocol ecosystem. So that's why I try to encourage people to go into Rust, because then you actually are able to choose what ecosystem you want to go into, right? Now, Solidity is a language for Ethereum. Solidity is easier than Rust. Because Solidity is easier than Rust, then Solana has created a solution called Anchor. So Anchor will enable you to first learn Solidity, which then will give you access to an Ethereum ecosystem. And then you can take that knowledge from Solidity and start to build in Rust. So Anchor pretty much creates a template for you to start developing in Rust on Solana. So the way one of my other partners put it is that Solidity is more like Microsoft Word, where Rust is like the Microsoft Office suite. It's that much more complex, right? So if you're just now getting into, development and coding, then I would say start, and if you go into Udemy, especially right now, Black Friday, they have like courses for like $10, and they're pretty darn good, right? If they're good enough for Mark Cuban, they're good enough for me, right? So you can go on to Udemy and get a lot of good Solidity courses for $10. And then you can, that's going to, and then you can also get, I think I bought like 4 Rust courses on Udemy for like $20. And I sent them over to my developers, some of our developers. They started to learn Rust just from Udemy. Because there's no courses, there's no university courses for Rust. So you either have to go on to Udemy or go on to YouTube to learn these languages. Right? There's very few universities that actually have Solidity classes. There's some, but not that many. right? So if you're trying to be a developer within this space, YouTube is going to be your best initial source. Then you can go on a Udemy and get classes for $10, right? As I said before, during this NFT run, people were putting out offers for $250,000 for developers. There's one organization I work with. The developers charged them $10,000 to interview him, and they paid it. Yes, the dev charged $10,000 to interview him, and they paid it.
But the other thing that actually Solana's doing is they have a protocol that helps you take your code off of Solidity and transfer it to Solana without having to rewrite the smart contract. So that's something else that they're working on right now.
Mhm.
So it makes it easy for devs to take their what they've already created and done and take it on to Solana.
Mm-hmm. So if you're a dev, check out Anchor. Again, that's kind of your template to go into Rust if you do have some knowledge of Solidity. So in terms of Solana, we're about to start to get into some use cases for Solana. So as you can see, there's a number of projects within the Solana ecosystem. If you look at the wallets, we already went into the Phantom wallet. Again, you can see there's one of 12 different wallets that you can have within the Solana ecosystem. When we talk about infrastructure, you can see Arweave. So Arweave is a decentralized storage platform. You also have MoonPay. So MoonPay is known as an on-ramp, a finance on-ramp in some countries. In the US, we can't really use MoonPay too much. You might be able to use it in the UK. We can't use it. But so you can actually deposit your pounds, or they do pounds here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do the pounds, and then you can convert your pounds over to crypto, right? So I'm American, you have to excuse me. In terms of tooling, you have Solana Scan. So we went through Solana Scan yesterday. We'll actually go into Solana Scan today so you can actually see those transactions. So those transactions that occurred. So everybody who sent me your wallet address, please check it to see if you got that sold, because we're actually going to go to Block Live to make sure you mint those tokens. So we're actually going to go into Soul Scan to actually show those transactions. We're actually submitted all those transactions.
And then you can see also Chainlink is there. We talked about Oracle. So that's getting real world data to interact with the blockchain and making sure that it's validated and provided for the blockchain to execute smart contracts.
Mm-hmm. And then stable coins is going to be a big thing within the Web3 space, because that's just where that stable coin is backed by either assets or backed by the US dollar. I think one of them's doing. I think Circle is doing you against the pound. I believe Circle did that. They just don't have as much total value like as the US dollar. But you're going to see a lot of things come out in terms. We talk about USDT with the collapse of Terra, but Tether and USDC. I'm trying to put this as non-financial advice-y as possible. Tether and USDC are the ones that have been validated and backed by a dollar, backed by assets.
And now you guys receive the NFT. So there you go. You have the other use case, which is like holding digital art. So yeah, when you guys get those airdrops that happen, you'll be part of that also, knowing that on the ecosystem.
Yep. And then also DeFi, decentralized finance. All protocols now have DeFi, decentralized finance, where it's peer-to-peer lending, right? So if you have crypto or if you have NFTs, then I can collateralize crypto, I can collateralize NFTs, and you can actually lend me out. You can actually lend me out crypto, and I can actually transfer that. I can send that. So let's just say, for example, I have crypto. I have $10,000, hypothetically. I have $10,000 in Solana that I don't want to sell. I can collateralize that $10,000 and I can get sent $8,000 in USDT, hypothetically, right? So now I can take that 8,000 USDT and send it over to Coinbase, cash out that USDT, and now I have $8,000 US dollars. And in the click of a button, I can transfer that $8,000 US dollars into my bank account.
Mm-hmm.
That's DeFi. Now, Once I'm able to pay it back, then I can take that $8,200, because I have to pay the initial deposit plus interest, send it back from Coinbase over to Solana, pay back my loan, I get my 10,000 Solana back. If the price hasn't changed.
Okay.
All right. And then you also have the gaming and NFTs. So Star Atlas is one of the biggest games on the Solana ecosystem, and then you have a number of others within the ecosystem. Now I think who mentioned this?
Someone yesterday mentioned the phone, the Solana phone.
What
I don't
question you
know.
have?
I have a question on the staking.
Mm-hmm.
What you're describing, is that what it is, or is it something else?
So staking is like taking your coin and like locking it to get a percentage back that you earn but it depends like what you're staking. So you can either stake to validate transactions, or you can stake in DeFi where you're putting your money in and then you're getting money based on the transaction. So it's whatever service you're providing with your money. It's like going to the bank and earning interest for saving your money.
Right.
Staking is like saving. So either you go in and you lock your money up and you become like a validator on the blockchain, or you go and you stake your money in DeFi and you become like a liquidity provider. So you're providing your money so that it's kind of like the bank for the money that's there. It's being used for different things. And then you also earn a percentage of that. So that's what staking is essentially. I'm locking my money away. I'm providing liquidity or doing something with it, so I get a return.
Mhm.
It's the equivalent of deposit.
Yeah.
It's the equivalent of a savings account for a bank. But I don't know how much interest you all get in the UK, but in the US it's 0.01%, interest we get. Why am I going to do that whenever I can take a stable coin and get 10%?
Well, it depends on
Right.
the platform, and it depends
Right, on the
also,
stable coin.
there's also risks associated with it. So we're not here to provide any financial advice. Do your own research.
Mhm. But that's what it's for. So you want to lock up and be a liquidity provider, but that's what all these DeFi platforms are doing. They're competing for liquidity. So you'll see this acronym of TVL, total value locked. That's pretty much how many people have locked up their cryptocurrencies within that particular protocol. That's why Uniswap's TVL is so high, because they have a tool for you to be a liquidity provider, right? So every single time a transaction is performed on Uniswap, you get a portion of those transactions, right? So that's what DeFi is all about. If you can have stable coins, you don't get as much with stable coins, but you get something that's a whole lot better than 0.01%, right? So that's what DeFi is all about. So yesterday somebody asked a question about the Solana wallet. So Solana is looking to create a Web3 wallet where natively, just like we walked through yesterday on the Phantom wallet, where you had an option to actually go search from the browser in the Web3. I'm logged in to my Solana, my Phantom wallet. Here, you're logged in through the whole entire phone. I don't have to use an app. The phone is the app, right? So I can store all my assets on the phone. I can use that whole entire phone in a decentralized fashion, right? So similar to how we have our Phantom application on our phone, the whole entire phone's an app, a decentralized application, right? So that's something that was announced, I think, last May. You can go on Solana right now and put in. This is not a shill. You can go on now and reserve a phone for $100, right? I think it's refundable. You can do your own research on that one, but I'm gonna take a chance for $100 and see what this is all about. Okay, so with the decentralized Web3 phones coming out by Solana. Any questions?
I think are you going to do a demo of the wormhole?
Yep.
Okay. So this is like kind of
Oh.
our closing off.
So 3:30. So also,
Yeah.
once again, this is very important. So since you all have received the crypto, go to blocklive. What's going on here?
I don't know.
Oh, pause screen sharing, stop share screen.
Sure, that one. Yeah.
Go to
There you go.
blocklive.io, okay? Don't use the one from yesterday because that's the DevNet link. So blocklive.io. And then once you go into Block Live.
Yep.
Resend your address to JG2048 at Georgetown. JG, BLOCKLIVE.io.
blocklive.io. What? You read my message? Yeah. Too comfortable. You ever, yeah. We'll talk about that later.
Who's Jason? Send your address, send your sole address, the long address, email me that. Oh, okay,
There
got
you
you.
go.
Okay,
Thank
got you.
you.
Understood. Thank you. Okay.
Oh, don't you worry about it. That's, you know how,
Can we talk about this later?
yeah, of course. Sure.
All right, give me a second. I'll check. All right, Jason, you should be good. Why?
Yeah, that's different. Don't worry about
Wait a
it.
minute, huh?
Don't worry about it.
Oh, that's on this one. Yeah, this one's working.
Mhm.
All right, Jason, you check? You good? Victoria, check. Refresh again. I just sent it like 2 seconds ago.
You claim the wallet. You claim did you claim the NFT? Okay, so go blocklive.io and then claim NFT.
Okay.
I need a refund. I said it twice. I need a refund.
Yeah.
All right, we good? Monica? Who's Monica? Okay.
Okay, do you want to put this on? You're gonna do the wormhole?
Yeah.
Or use the bathroom?
Yeah, if you have any bags left, I'm not taking those back to the States, so yeah. All right, check it. Excuse me? All right, so once y'all have done that, again, go to blocklive.io, right? Once you go to blocklive.io, you'll see Women in Blockchain Canada and Citex on a college tour. Click that, and then click Get Ticket. And then you should be able to approve that transaction, because I've already done it on mine. Well. So you see, mine's already says claimed.
How long before the NFT goes into wallet?
Excuse me?
How long before the NFT goes into wallet?
It should be immediate. Yeah, oh man. All right, so everybody, if you're having problems with it, go into Phantom. Go into the Phantom Wallet application. And then you'll, on the right-hand side, you'll see it load. And then once you go into load, type in blockbot.io on that load, and then you should be able to do it. I haven't done that. All right, so go in there, load, you put the load. Blockbot.io, load.
Do we get the rights for the NFT?
What's that?
We get the rights for the.
Yeah. You own it.
There you go. See, isn't that easy?
There you go. You have it?
Got it? Huh? Did you email it to me?
In your wallet. Put your wallet.
You're like the same one. I'm different. I look at what's great background. Man. Let me know when when you're in that crap. You got to trade for it.
Where do you go to?
Huh? Keep the phone. I never seen that.
Where do you go now to save the property of this NFT? You mentioned about the one of the.
No, I didn't know. Are you gonna,
Oh, okay, yes.
I think there's one more question, and are you gonna go to the bridge?
Huh?
Is that the plan?
Yeah.
Okay,
What was the other question?
I'll go help her. Or.
Huh?
What's that? Oh, yeah. Are you busy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Send that address.
Just, do you, is it okay if, at the end? Why don't we do it now, no?
And then
Right now?
I said, address, email it, and I'll send it to you.
Or like, how long, do you know how long it will take, because you have to take a picture?
Huh?
It's fine, picture's not gonna take too long.
Okay, so at the end, we'll take a good
Okay.
picture. Yep. All right.
All right, so everybody, who still needs help with the NFT?
Are you good? Excellent.
All right. Anybody needs help, we'll figure, I will do after the event. Last thing I wanted to show you was a wormhole. So portalbridge.com. So this is a wormhole where you can transfer tokens, you can transfer NFTs from one blockchain to the other. Okay. So for example, I'm gonna do an NFT first. So token bridge, I could say NFTs. And because my wallet, I'm gonna connect my wallet, connect my Solana wallet. So you can see these are all the wallets you can actually use on Solana. But in this case, I'm gonna use Phantom. Okay. And then it says select a token. So now my wallet's created. It's gonna look and pull all my NFTs that I have connected in that wallet. Okay. I don't know why I'm the only one excited about this. This is crazy. But so there's a culture of women NFTs that I keep telling you about that we created a custom NFT for, right? But then I also have a NFT that actually bridged from Phantom over to Solana. So now I'm going to bridge this one from Solana. I'm going to choose that one. So you can see that's the one. So I actually minted this on Phantom. I moved it to Solana. Now I'm going to wrap it on Solana and move it somewhere else. NFT, right? So I choose, there's an NFT. I hit next. And now the target, I can say, okay, what blockchain do I want to send it to? Right? So then I can say Akala. So Akala's my Polkadot ecosystem. Who's heard of Arbitrum? What's Arbitrum? Arbitrum. Arbitrum's an ETH layer 2. Optimism's also an ETH layer 2. Okay. Aurora is as a DeFi platform on Solana. Avalanche is its own blockchain. It was actually created from a professor at Cornell, if I'm not mistaken. Binance Smart Chain, that's CZ. CeeLo, I don't even know much about CeeLo. Phantom, if you go on the Women in Blockchain Canada, you can actually see Michael Kong, the president of the Solana Foundation. So, Justin actually interviewed him. Karura, that's actually on the Kusama ecosystem within the Polkadot ecosystem. Clayton, we're looking to do some work with them. They're on South Korea.
In South
They're
Korea.
in South Korea. They're actually building they actually have a metaverse platform they're building. Moonbeam, again, go on Justina Women in Blockchain Canada. She actually interviewed Katie Butler, who was the head of marketing for Moonbeam, Oasis, and then Polygon. You know, I'm not a fan of Polygon, but anyway, I digress. Anyway, all right, so we're gonna move this over from Solana to Ethereum, right? I'm gonna connect with Ethereum. Boom. And then you can see that I have this Ethereum address on this wallet, right? So you can see I have it on here. So because I'm connected, it automatically defaults to just say I'm moving it from this address to this address. I could also override it and say I'm going to send it to Justina. So then I can say I'm gonna move it from my address off of Solana onto Justina's address on Ethereum. But for presentation purposes, I'm gonna move it from my address on Solana to my Ethereum address on Ethereum. Okay. Hit next. Transfer. Approve a transaction. You can see it's 0.004 SOL. That's less than a cent. Now look how quick those confirmations are. On ETH, that might take 45 minutes. 27. So it's almost done. That's the power of Solana. Right? Ethereum, this would be taking a long time.
So you took something from Ethereum and brought it to Solana.
I took it from Solana and put it on Ethereum.
Oh, really?
So here, so those transactions are already done. Redeem, boom. Now I'm porting it. See, now it's sitting in the wormhole. Now it's kind of in limbo, right? So now, oh boy, $13. Y'all charged me $13 for this presentation. so it charges $13. It's charging me $13 to move that NFT from Solana over to Ethereum.
now you see why there's more like accessibility issues when it comes to people
Right.
being onboarded to Ethereum, right? Because it's like just the sheer cost of using the network, you can be paying $12 for one transaction.
Huh?
It may be cheap for you, but for a lot, oh, I understand, but I'm saying like for most people, it's not very accessible.
I'm mad. Yeah, y'all just cost me $12. I'm heated right now.
Okay, but so does anybody have any other questions? Because I think the KCL Blockchain Club wanted a photo with everybody, so why don't we gather on this side of the room? Or is that where you want us, by your poster, or right here,
We can have it here as well.
over there?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, thanks for coming, guys. Thanks for coming, guys. All
I'll
right,
just move the banner there because it's bigger over there.
okay.
I'll just-